go ahead and share a little bit about my story with you guys here. About 10 years ago, my son started to have some skin issues. We were seeking help from healthcare professionals, a lot of different. We were sent to dermatologists, we were sent to pediatric specialists in certain areas. It took 3 years of my son being under the treatment of different physicians and treating him with different medications to control the skin issues that he was dealing with. You know, they did their best. They weren't trying to harm him. They were just do what they know to do. So we were under treatment for 3 years. And during those 3 years, his skin was not doing well. It was actually getting worse. His head, his ears, his arms, several areas on his legs, his groin area, like it was everywhere. And they started to turn into open wounds. So the only way that they would tell us to control his infections were to put him in bleach baths several times a day. And we were also doing medications internally, and then of course ointments externally. Prescription medications. So by the end of that 3rd year, he was not doing well. I prayed. You know, prayer has always been a big part of my life. I would always pray to God to guide me to the right people that were going to be able to help my son. Also to give me knowledge that I needed to know in order to help my son, and to give me wisdom to make the right decisions at the right time. Yes, my faith was taken a whole different level after we went through all of this. But yes, so I'm going to keep this short, and it was very painful physically and emotionally for not just my son, who was the patient, but also the parents, or I speak for myself. I had started reading about like nutrition, how important it was, and how certain things created inflammation in the body. But it's not what I knew, you know. I had a battle going on in my mind with, okay, this is what I've known all my life, and now I'm reading something totally opposite, like, you know, and how do I even know this is going to help? We ended up going to a holistic place that cost us a lot of money because our insurance didn't cover, right? So we went to this holistic place where a medical doctor worked with a holistic person. It turned out that he was carrying a large load of toxicity in his body. I'm grateful that we were able to afford this because a lot of people can't afford things like this. When I got to this place, you know, the medical doctor and the holistic person were teaching me and just reinforcing everything that I had been learning. Important nutrition was, and certain vitamins and minerals, and you know, how omegas were important and what foods contributed to the inflammatory response, so they weren't helping his condition or any condition, and how it became an autoimmune disorder that he had. And they explained everything to me. So I learned about the root cause. I learned about food. I learned about nutrition, and just I learned everything, how important everything was. And they sent me home with natural alternatives, and they explained to me what everything was going to be for. At the end of a 3-month period of going this route, we started to see my son get better. 3 months, guys. 3 months of not knowing if I was doing the right thing. At the end of that 3-month period, my son's wounds, physical wounds, began to clear up. And you know, I started to think, how come no one else knows how to do this? You know, it took 3 years of suffering, being in that revolving door, back in the doctor's office, back in the doctor's office, back in the doctor's office. Now what do we give him? Now what do we do? What, you know, let's try something stronger. Let's try. And I'm a nurse. That's what I do. I work with physicians, and I was doing what I knew best to do for my own child. Now, at the end of the 3-year mark, when things were not looking great, they did send us to a children's specialist in Atlanta. I'm not going to mention the name here, but I will say it's a system that's very well known. It has a great reputation. It's in downtown Atlanta. So we went there, and they weren't able to really tell us anything. They just kept saying, well, keep using what you've been using, and now we're going to add this. And the last thing that they wanted to add was immune suppressant therapy. And that was also going to cost us $600 a month. So that was the point for me to say, hold up a second. Something has to work. And I don't think this is my answer. If we've been doing this for 3 years and this is where it got us, and you're telling me to continue that, and now we're going to add this, I kept thinking about my son's life. What quality of life was he going to have growing up? What chance at life was he going to have? And you know what was told to me that was really irritating? I was told, and this is the part that I was not okay with. And that's why when I say, if you care enough, you will do something about it. I was told that this is something that we had to learn to live for the rest of our lives with. It's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have to learn to live with this. He's going to have to learn to live with this. He's going to have to learn to live this way because this is his life and this is his condition. That was the push for me. That was not good enough for me. That was my son they were talking about. That wasn't somebody else that, just happens to be coming through the hospital doors. That was my son they were talking about. And as a mother, not a nurse, now they were talking to a mother. That was not good enough for me. That quality of life, that disease, that sickness, get used to living this way, that's the way it's going to be, that was not good enough for me. So I knew that it was my responsibility to fight for my son and to find an answer for him if it was the last thing that I was going to be doing in my life. And I became obsessed. And became obsessed with learning the true root cause of disease and what he had going on and the inflammatory response and foods. And that's what triggered everything. I started learning about that. I ended up at this holistic place. Then, I started changing things. And in 3 months, 3-month period, we started to see a difference for the better for him. Wounds that were open that we couldn't even manage and control were starting to heal. They were starting to close. That hospital system where I took my son, they still have pictures of his skin. They have his records, so it's all there. But like I said, that wasn't good enough for me. As a mom, I was willing to fight. And like I said, if it matters to you enough, you will fight and do whatever it takes. So I'm grateful to God because he answered me. I expanded my mind. He gave me knowledge that I don't know where else I would have gotten this knowledge if it weren't through a crisis. So everything that you're going through, every struggle, there's purpose for that, you guys. There's such great purpose in every single struggle. That's all I can tell you. So yes, so that led to, learning about how the body works and root cause. And then I took a course here and there, and then I took another course, and I started learning about how to incorporate actually what the holistic clinic with that medical doctor and that holistic person gave me were essential oils. And it was omega-3 for the brain and the nervous system to function right. And, and then they started to tell me they showed me how to use frankincense and oregano, tea tree, taught me how to use all these things, even though I was reading about them online and I already had essential oils in my house. I was terrified to use them. I didn't even know how to use them. So I had these in my home and I didn't know how to use them, paying thousands of dollars to that clinic, to that medical doctor who worked with the holistic person together. They taught me. They taught me and they reinforced everything that I was already learning. After my son started to get better, my faith stepped up to a whole nother level. And I started to really just have that conviction of how many people don't know that there is hope for them. I had almost lost my hope. Inside of me, there was still that tiny little piece that I could not let go of because I was fighting for my son. So it became a conviction of, if God answered my prayer and he helped me, how can I not give this back? How can I not give this in return? So when you see my post about it's all about giving back, it ties my whole story together. Everything that I put out here for you guys, it ties my whole life and my whole story together. So pay attention to my post, because there's a lot behind every little post that I put out there. Okay, well, back to my story. So yes, so that's the background of my story, how it led to wanting to learn about the body and how it functions and what the body needs in order to heal itself, and how to learn how to reduce the toxic load. Then I did, along with all these different courses that I took, I even went as far as becoming a yoga instructor, which I do not practice teaching. I went to learn, taking the holistic practitioner program, and then learning about real hydration and how do you really hydrate your body, and how do you know what the good quality of water is, and what does this water do compared to this one. And that's how the website, The Essential Nurse, came out to be. It was more of like, I have to give this back. I have to. This is my purpose. And, doing what I do, it gives me that. It gives me that fulfillment of, yes, I am doing something greater than I could have ever imagined. So yes, so that's part of my story. My other son had some other health issues. He had some respiratory issues, and we also learned how to help him through his health, so he wouldn't have to depend on certain things anymore. And so that's, my phone is falling here. So that's how we started. That was the beginning of everything. One thing is that when I was going through it, I was very quiet about it. I carried a lot of shame with me of, I used to think, I'm a nurse, I should know how to take care of my child, and I should know what to do. And now I can very openly talk about it, because I don't walk around with that shame. If anything, now I'm like, look where I came from. Struggle, my mess, my pain, my struggles, all of this has become my story, and I'm here to help you now not go through that. Or if you're going through that, then you can totally come out of it too. And if you haven't gone through anything, then this is also for you, because you don't have to go through that. Connect with me, because I can share my story and I can share my struggles with you and help you get to a better place easier than how I got there. If this story has given you a little bit of hope and inspiration, which I hope that it has, I'm grateful for having the opportunity to be here and to share this with you. Thank you all so much for your time, and stay well.